Welcome back to Grand Prix Legends here for the third round in our 1955 championship here from Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium for the Belgium Grand Prix. Coming off the tight, twisty streets of Monaco here in Belgium now at the fast Spa-Francorchamps circuit, the beautiful and fast Spa-Francorchamps circuit here for the Belgian Grand Prix. Really excited to do this one after the confines of the first two rounds and the tightness of those circuits. Excited to get on something much quicker. I feel like this kind of circuit suits these cars beautifully, and it is challenging in its own way. I'm excited to go through. Had a really fun time practicing and qualifying around here, and I'm sure it's going to be a great race with all the slipstreaming, and it seems like it's going to be very competitive. So coming off that Monaco Grand Prix, let's take a look at the schedule and points and everything. Of course, having completed two rounds now and sitting in sixth position overall in the championship. Juan Manuel Fangio leading the championship after winning the first round, and then coming in second or third place for Monaco. I guess third place. Having a great season so far, no doubt to expect. And his teammate not doing so bad either, Sterling Moss, with 12 points, just 2 points behind him. Remember, only the top 5 points races for each driver are going to count for the season, so there's still a lot to do, and there's no reason why technically two drivers could have 5 wins apiece, and it would really come down to fast laps. So Fangio did get fastest lap on the first Grand Prix, which helped him out a lot. I guess he did get it on the second Grand Prix too, so he's just cleaning up those fast laps, but we're going to see what we can do about that today. So sitting down in sixth, not doing so well in our last outing, not even doing well in the first outing, really could have done much better. So most of all, just hoping for a clean race here today, and making sure we actually get to the finish line. Let's quickly talk about the real 1955 Belgian Grand Prix, won by none other than Juan Manuel Fangio and his Mercedes from his Mercedes teammate Sterling Moss. And I guess the Mercedes really just dominated this event. The Lancia team not actually showing up to compete, and I'm guessing most likely because of Ascari's unfortunate death testing a sports car between the Monaco round and Spa. They didn't show up, so really left the Mercedes to just run away with it. Nino Farina for Ferrari finishing in the third position, and apparently was very competitive but got held up passing some slower cars. So that bodes well since he's driving for Ferrari as well. We'll have to see how we do in the old Ferrari. I know we're going to actually do pretty well. So the real race went 36 laps, I believe, and let's take a look here what we're doing today. We're doing 11 laps around the circuit, just a little over third distance, or I guess a little under third distance, like all the other Grand Prix we've been doing. Pretty crazy, 36 laps. It's actually quite a bit longer than the Grand Prix was in the 60s. I was just doing a little research. 28 laps was kind of the average length on this configuration of circuit, the 8.7 mile Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Oddly enough, and I found this crazy, the first ever Grand Prix in Spa, pretty much the same circuit. I think a few of the corners were different, but more or less the same. Actually, 88 laps was the distance, and this was in the 1930s, which is incredible. So this the Grand Prix shortened over time, and then of course on the modern Grand Prix with a short circuit being the shortest of all, but we're still here. Beautiful Spa-Francorchamps circuit. I know I've done quite a few videos on it by now, and just very faithfully recreated. It's going to be a ton of fun in these cars, and like I said, quite a bit different actually. Just some of the corners and the way you have to take them in these cars versus the 60s cars varies quite a bit. So we'll be doing 11 laps around the circuit. I'll take a look at the starting grid. Alberto Ascari getting the pole, Fangio in second and Gonzalez in third. So Ascari with the Lancia doing really well, able to get the pole, and so if they had shown up to this Grand Prix, I think that bodes pretty well for their chances. So it'll be interesting to see how the Lancias can do. Sterling Moss starting fourth, and I am starting fifth position on the grid. Had a pretty good qualifying lap, and I think there's a little bit more in it yet. yet. And with that slipstream, I was drafting a bit with some of the Mercedes cars through practice and everything, and it felt really good. So I do feel like we can bounce back here and have a great finish. Some of the cars at the end of the field are really, really slow and not even really going to be a challenge. So I really think, unless we do something pretty terrible, a top 6 or a points finish is definitely in it for us. So let's take a quick run over to the car setup. A lot of the same that I've been running. I've been thinking about experimenting with a stiffer roll bar at some of the slower circuits. So that's something I wish I had tried for Monaco, just to see if I could have gotten a little more speed out of the car. But chassis and suspension is pretty much the same as what we've been running here. Up to the steering ratio again a little bit, since we don't need to corner super tight corners. La Source is pretty tight, but make it around there no problem. And then with transmission obviously being the biggest change, up to a 1640 diff ratio. So giving it enough high end for the fast straights and the slipstreaming specifically. We don't quite top out by ourselves, but in a slipstream we do pretty much get there. So hoping we have enough gusto to get past whoever we need to get past and draft them successfully. So that's about it. Of course, I mentioned this at the start of the series. We skipped Indianapolis since it doesn't really fit with the whole Formula One thing. Kind of what they were trying to do in these days was have the best races in the world be a part of the championship, and I agree that Indy should be up there with the best races in the world, but for the same reason Le Mans isn't in the F1 calendar. I'm not sure why Indianapolis was. Totally different drivers, totally different cars. So we skipped over that one. We're at the third round now, Belgian Grand Prix, so why don't we get going? Alright, on the hill here, having to hold the brake a bit to make sure we don't roll down. And we'll wait for the flag to go up. Down, we're underway. Getting a pretty good launch off the line there. Got Stirling Moss to my inside in second gear right now. Moss taking that corner pretty aggressively. Now we'll work up Eau Rouge. Looking like we're clear to our left side. We'll come out of there in the position we started, I believe, right behind Stirling Moss. 5th position is now. We'll work our way towards Lacombe. Having a little bit of a speed advantage here, or felt like for a second, over the Mercedes, but pulling away a bit. We'll take it easy until Lacombe first time. Down to 3rd, down into 2nd. Have pretty cold tires, a lot of fuel on board, so be a heavy car this first time by. Now working the straight as we head towards Burnville, and Burnville for me is one of the toughest corners on this track in the 50s cars. In the 60s cars you don't even need to give it much thought, but in these cars with the weight, with the lack of grip, just really, really difficult. So we'll shift it down into 4th, and we'll take it really easy on entry and just slide it nicely through there. Might not look like much, but definitely a corner that can get you caught out, especially if you're trying to go for a pass or something. Go through the dip there, and now through Malmedy. Keeping it in 4th gear. Make sure we don't push wide on the exit. Up into 5th now for the Mazda straight and towards the kink. Oddly enough, the kink not feeling quite as difficult in these cars as it is in the 60s cars. Still a challenge, but a little easier to get that line right. So we'll stay in the slipstream here behind Moss and his Mercedes. And it looks like Fangio's right in front of him. So the Mercedes not leading the race just yet. Down into 4th gear for the kink. We'll have to take that easy. Looking like a Scari up in front. Trying to work on Gonzalez. So all of the players are here with us up in front. It really is these 4 drivers in front of me that are fighting for the championship. We'll go into 4th gear now for Stavolo. They're leading into Stavolo there. Quick right flick before it. Down to 3rd for Stavolo itself. Got a Maserati right on my tail. So as I'm saying, it's just these 4 drivers in front of me. There's another car right behind looking to make a move. Ducks behind me into my slipstream. for these last few corners of the lap. These also pretty difficult corners in these cars. The cars just slide around a lot more or are harder to get at high speed around some of the corners, so you have to really get the lines right. Doing pretty well. Shifted into fourth for this corner, but almost immediately back on the gas to get the car to turn. Oh, getting a really nice run out of that corner. Up on the back of Stirling Moss now. We'll go side by side as we head towards Blanchimont. But might back out of that one there. Stirling Moss cuts me off. Just not a great idea on the opening lap to go too wide through these corners here. And Blanchimont noticing no barrier on the outside in the 50s version of the circuit. This is a slightly different version of the circuit than I've raced in the 60s cars before. Some of the barriers being removed, I guess being a little more accurate to how it was. But now we'll come round out the lap into La Source and heavy braking for the only real slow corner on the whole track. Down into first gear. Back through the gears again to complete lap number 1. So getting pretty decent start. 5th place. Put back into 3rd for Eau Rouge and actually 2nd gear to get up the hill. Not getting the perfect line through there, but making it work. Fangio and Ascari dueling a little bit in front. That's what I'll want them to do. This section on the way to Lacombe actually a little tricky in these cars as well. Easy to run wide, of course. Every corner can bite you. It's the ones you don't give respect to that'll come up and ruin your afternoon. Not able to make that move on Ascari though. Losing the draft a little bit here on the beginning of lap number 2 with these cars. Need to try to keep with them. It is very much like super speedway racing with the draft and making sure that you stay in the slipstreams. If you can stay near somebody, you'll never quite lose them. Getting through Burnville again though here. A scary corner, hit that bump, helps settle the car and get it down into the apex. And through Malmedy, leaving it in 4th gear just long enough to make sure I've got the corner before we get onto the Mosta straight. Oh, I'm pulling up very nicely on Moss. Try to stay in the slipstream as long as we can. Would like to go to the left. But topping out here right behind Stirling Moss. I'm not going to have time to pass, let off a little bit, so I have time to see my own apex into the Mosta kink. But Moss running a little bit stranger of a line. Throwing me off slightly, so now we'll work towards Stavolo. Just not going to be a place to pass here. Down into 4th gear for this little flick before Stavolo, and that is a really tough corner itself too in all of the cars, in my opinion. The Maserati right back on me again. That might be Berra. Learning a few more of these drivers' names. Jean Berra, I believe drives a Maserati, could be mistaken. So got really close to Stirling Moss there coming out of Malmedy, but just couldn't make it work down the Mosta straight. And keeping it in 5th gear there, it's a hard corner to downshift in, or downshift 4. We'll downshift here, get right back on the gas if we can. Pull ourselves through. Getting a nice run once again on Moss, maybe having to slow down a little bit for Fangio in front. We have such a good run. We're going to try it up the inside this time as we head towards Blanchimont and able to make that work. Put it down into 4th here. This corner also very difficult. I think I'm saying every corner is difficult. They all are difficult for sure. Making it work through Blanchimont though. So now we'll head towards the end of the lap and I have Moss right on my tail. He's looking all over the track for a place to get back around. But not able to do it. Into La Source, use the engine to slow down the car. Gonna get boxed in here behind Fangio. Really our first glimpses at him the whole season thus far. We were chasing him down in Argentina, but he had such a lead, if you remember, in the Ferrari, getting in our way, Trinchino spoiling our day. Second gear to go up through Eau Rouge, through Raidillon. And now towards Les Combes. So Gonzalez leading actually from Fangio, or from Ascari, and then Fangio directly in front of us in third. I'm in fourth position. This is looking very promising here in the first few laps. Shifting right on the apex of that little turn. Now we'll work towards Bernville again. I'll make sure I get the line right through here. It's pretty easy to slide the car out wide if you miss the groove. I like to keep the right side tires just to the right of the dark line. Through Malmedy, flicking the car around there, now up into fifth gear, just riding those top RPMs on the engine. Hopefully this Ferrari lasts for me. Down the Masta straight. The kink in these cars, I think we're just going a little bit slower, so it's not quite as daunting. Still lifting a bit, obviously, but it just feels like you got a little more leeway, a little more time to get the right line through there. The 60s cars, you kind of close your eyes and hope you get through it. Closing right in on Fangio though as we're coming up to the Stavolo complex. It's again just not a smart idea to try to force anything, especially this early in the race. Already lost track of how many laps it's been, but we'll check the pit board this time by. I want to avoid those that little curbing to the inside there through Stavolo. There is a hump on the bridge, extra curbing that I hit once through the car. It's a wild spin. Oh, I'm right on him now, but this left-hander, these two rights, I don't know if we're going to be able to make it work. If I can time this right, though, on our way to Blanchimont, maybe I can pull a similar move that I did on Moss. So here we'll brake a little bit early, downshift it to fourth, and try to get on the gas. And right behind Fangio. And able to make a very similar move that I made on Moss for the third position. It's now Ascari directly in front. Bright blue helmet. Through Blanchimont, fourth gear. Fourth for the second to last turn here as we come up to La Source now. Oh, and up the inside of Ascari through La Source. He ran a little wider than I was thinking he was going to. So now we'll work down the front straightaways side by side. This P4 last time by. Ascari's going to fight me into Eau Rouge. Getting onto the grass a little bit. Coming out of Radion. Blocking me just enough where I can't stick my nose beside him. Dueling here through Belgium. You can really see why, as I'm struggling to get through the comb, you can really see why Grand Prix racing caught on right after the war. It's like two fighter pilots dueling, except you can watch it happen as it flies by your house. How cool would that be? We're getting into Burnville now. A few exciting corners. Want to make sure I get settled back in here and don't make a silly mistake. The race is working out really well so far. Now we'll work towards the Master Kink. Making up good time on Ascari here. Work towards his inside. Oh, and he chops us off. Had a feeling he would try to take that corner. Ascari very aggressive on the wheel. He was known as one of the greats for a reason. Now towards Stavolo. Down into fourth, braking a little bit earlier to get myself set up. One of the Mercedes directly behind me. Can't tell if it's Fangio or Moss. Would have to guess Fangio. I believe he was number 14. Those Mercedes handling quite well through Stavolo. Up into fifth gear again. Really is a treat to drive this circuit, especially drive it alone. Missing the apex there, but on the track. But he's doing testing laps around the circuit. Just really awesome. Working towards Blanchimont again, not close enough to make any kind of move this lap. I believe it said 8 to go last time by. I'll check the pit board again. I was a little busy on that last lap through the start-finish line. Fangio just not wanting to leave me alone behind. He's closing up right through Blanchimont. And Ascari blocking that inside line. This time by. Sure, I cannot get up beside him, but Fangio getting up beside me and cutting me off there as we head towards the start-finish line. So I was P3 with 7 to go. Now back to P4. Wow, and a really aggressive move from Fangio, but I guess you don't win the championship for no reason. Towards Lacombe. Sterling Moss coming up behind me. I went a little to the inside there just to make sure he wouldn't be able to sneak it up there, but this tight pack so close, you really just can't lose the other drivers with the slipstream the way it is. These cars punch a big hole through the air. Staying right up behind one, you're going to go much, much quicker. Surprised Gonzalez actually has been able to stay up front as long as he has, and there we go. Might have not looked like it, but I did almost slide off the track there through Bernville. Just really easy to get the line, to get the drift a little bit wrong, and the car loves to go towards the outside of that track. Now back up into 5th gear for the Mazda straight. Fangio looking inside on Ascari. It was not a good move on his part, able to easily stay in this slipstream behind Ascari and work our way by. Through the Mazda kink, we'll go down into 4th again. Oh, and the car getting a little unsettled over that bump. Just trying to get a good exit there to see if I could get it up along Ascari, but down into 3rd gear for Stavolo. Got it throttle pegged. Want to keep it in 3rd gear though. It really helps turn the car. As soon as you shift up to a gear and the RPMs go down, the engine doesn't spin the back wheels as hard, I guess. The car doesn't torque around the corner. We're catching up to Gonzalez now. Led there for a couple laps really well. Late entry to the corner, shifting early. Ascari did run a little wide there, and we're able to get up the inside of him and make a very clean pass there. His mistake, my advantage. Now working on Gonzalez. We're up into 2nd position. I'm catching right up to him as we're going to work here into Blanchimont. Not going to be a space to pass here. Blanchimont. Gonzalez up on the outside. He's working to the final corner. A little timid on that one. Don't want to throw this all away. And Ascari looking towards my inside, trying to make a move on me into the source, but not able to do it. So 6 laps to go, just about halfway through the Grand Prix. We went from P4 to P2 in that lap. Not a bad lap. Making a pretty good run there up through Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Much easier just to focus in front of us, but we have to be waiting for them to come up behind too. No doubt it will happen. I'm sure Fangio is quick too. If he ever got out in front, we would have a very difficult time, I'm sure. Gonzalez, I think, able to snipe that lead really early and controlling the pace thus far. I do think we're much quicker than him though, so we're likely going to be able to make the pass. I'm missing the gear. Oh, missing a gear into Bernville where I need it most. Somehow collecting that very scary moment. What you want to do when you're 2nd in a Grand Prix. Really earning that nickname, Gear Grinder. Now catching up to Gonzalez as we're nearing the Mazda kink. Will we be able to throw it up the inside? 4th gear, just not feeling that one, maybe on the last lap. Also have to think about the points, though. We have an opportunity here to score a lot of points. Having only 2 points on the championship so far. 3 rounds. This will be 3 rounds in. We really need to start scoring. Ascari dropping pretty far back there behind me. Not seeing what happened, but giving us a little room to breathe. Now we'll work towards Gonzalez, see if we can pass him leading up to Blanchimont there. We'll stay nicely nestled right behind him as well we can. Don't want to pass just yet. Would be harder to pass there. If we can get a good exit here, much easier time of it. Throw it up the inside. Nice, able to make a clean pass for the lead. Just over halfway, I believe, into the race. Having passed 4 cars. For Blanchimont. Now I need to get a few of these corners right to make sure that they don't get back past me. Coming into La Source. Shifting to first, braking pretty hard. Don't have to worry too much about the brake fade around this circuit. The straights are long enough, they cool the brakes quite nicely. Able to keep it into the lead. So we should be coming to 4 to go, I believe. Maybe 5 to go. Down to third. Down into second. Really watching my downshifts. Gonzalez right on my tail. Want to try to set a quick lap too. Not sure how we'll do out front. You might need the slipstream to actually set the quickest lap of the race. Working towards Lacombe. Gonzalez directly behind me. Down into second gear. We'll keep it nice and tidy here. Gonzalez running a bit wide, giving us a little bit of breathing room. Now we'll work towards my least favorite corner with these cars, Burnville. I just need to make sure I get a solid entry down into 4th gear. Making the shift that time without issue. I'm gonna have to rewatch that video, how I made it through there downshifting. I think I might even popped into 3rd for a second. It's just this draft is impossible. The slipstream is just going to make it impossible to lose any of these guys. Gonzalez behind me there. Heading towards the Mazda Kink. We'll take it first time without following somebody closely. And he's closing right in. Do not want him to jump up the inside into the Mazda Kink. Gonzalez thinking better of it. Whiz past those security guards. And if you think that would be unrealistic, just go watch videos from the era. They're right there on the edge of the track. Stavolo and some company right behind me. Now, I don't believe that we're going to catch laps cars at all during this Grand Prix. Could be mistaken. I don't think it's quite long enough. They are very slow, but we would have to make up almost 4 minutes on them to actually catch them. We we'll see. If one of them had spun out or something, maybe we would. Gonzalez looking for any which way around me, but needing to wait for the right opportunity to pass. Can't just try to pass as soon as you get there. You need to wait for the right corner, time it. Through Blanchimont successfully. Not able to go quite flat through there, so we'll downshift to first gear. A little wide, but not too bad. Oh, I'm getting a little bit of oversteer in the exit. Don't want to hit that wall. That would ruin the race. 4 laps to go. P1, that's what I would like to see. I'm not getting through Rouge or Radeon very well. It must be so exciting to be standing in the woods and you can hear the cars coming. Every lap you write down the order that you see them. Obviously before the days of the video screens and probably in most places even announcers that you could hear. It's just what you saw with your own eyes. Using every inch of the track for these cars. They're just much heavier than the 60s Grand Prix cars. Getting into Bernville, did it all right, but the weight, I didn't get the weight shifted early enough. Felt a little awkward. Gonzalez right on my tail again. He's looking to the outside, but he's not going to be able to do it there. Through Malmedy now. Road that comes in there from the left is actually flat, and the track that we're on is angled, so it's quite awkward if you get it on there. But Gonzalez right behind me, right there to take advantage if I make any mistake. Through the Masta Kink very, very well that time. Towards Stavelot again. I'm slowing down quite a bit for this corner. I'm not sure if I could take it much quicker, but I don't want to experiment. It's been working out for me thus far. Solid exit. They're right on me though. And it really is, if I blow an apex, miss a corner a little bit, they'll be right there to pounce on it. And just touching the dirt there, I have to be really careful with that. Some of the places, like I've said before, they'll pull your car right off the track if you dip a wheel into the sand. Now flat out here, down into fourth for these two corners. This corner is deceptively difficult. Not taking very well. I was distracted a little bit looking to my mirror, suddenly heard Gonzalez again. on through the gears for Lasource. Be careful not to miss one. That would certainly have me below the hairpin. So we'll come across the line with 3 to go. We know we're P1. Still not seeing any lapped cars ahead, luckily. Don't want to deal with those cars jumping out of the way at high speeds like this. Getting through that complex much better this time. Down into second gear for Lacombe. Sliding a bit wide this time. Gonzalez right there. Really does want it. I want to be the one to win for Ferrari today. Okay, getting through Burnville all right there. It's really just the first part of that corner. Very tricky, deceptively so. Just glancing in my mirror here and there, and they're battling like crazy behind me. I've got clear road in front. All I need to do is worry about where I'm going. Making sure I hit every corner perfectly. Gonzalez looking at my inside again. Would not be a good idea into there. You can see Stavolo in the distance there as you approach it. So cool. Into fourth gear now for the run into Stavolo. Gonzalez just not leaving me alone here. Just worried he's going to try to stick it up the nose, especially as we get later into the Grand Prix. Just a few laps left now. Could get desperate, and that's never good. And Ascari looking towards the inside of him, I think. Not to concentrate too much behind me, I'm sure you can see it just fine. See as well as I can anyway. Just letting off the gas a little bit, pumping it a couple times to get the car through that corner, and then this one will shift down to fourth, but then immediately back onto the gas to help turn the car. I'm gonna rain up against that yellow line. Up to fifth now. Real quick before we break down to fourth, work our way the last couple of corners here before the end of the lap. Through Blanchimont, outside of the track, and creep up on you there, and there are no guardrails here to keep us inside. The car much lighter now than it was, able to pretty much take that flat out. We'll break down again to first gear for Lasource, sliding the car into the corner, back onto the gas, able to get through there nicely, pulling up a little bit of a lead. Those guys behind, just 2 laps to go. These corners, I just have to do them one more time once we get past them. Just twice more through Burnville. braking quite hard there. Broke a little bit too late, but able to make the most of it. So you can see one of the Mercedes got around Ascari behind me, which isn't good. I'd like them to finish as far down as possible. Also, I know they'll put up a little bit better of a fight than Gonzalez, who I think I've finally broken the draft a bit. Hopefully we can keep it that way. Alright, through Burnville here. A little wide right up to the edge of the tarmac. Up into 5th gears now. We'll make our way towards the Mazda kink. For the second to last time. No signs of engines behind us this time. I can see them back there, but I think I've finally broken that draft a little bit. 4th gear now through the kink. And as I say that, I can hear them there behind me. I think I'm slower through these few corners, slower through the kink, slower through Stafolo, so they're going to be right back up on me, but I don't want to push it too hard. There's so few corners left. Fourth gear. Gonzalez right behind me and a Mercedes right behind him. Tipping off the gas here. Oh, and getting that corner just about perfect that time. The first time in the whole Grand Prix. Down at a 4th for this one. Flat on again. Missing the apex there, but getting a good run out of the corner, which is what really matters. Although there's Gonzalez looking inside again. Not able to gain on me after he dives out of my slipstream. We must have the slipperier Ferrari today. Into 4th gear though. Taking these corners maybe a little easier than normal, but through Blanchimont, don't want to throw things away. It's really going to come up to La Source on the last lap, isn't it? Sliding a little bit wide, but getting back on the gas as quickly as I can. Gonzalez right there. So now we'll come past the line with just one more lap to go here at Spa. Nice entry into Eau Rouge. And Raidillon. To Lacombe. This is really the last heavy braking corner until we get all the way to La Source. We do downshift a few other times, but that 2nd gear corner, and then we won't go below 4th gear again to La Source. Really is a fast lap, a high-speed lap. Able to make a few good corners there and have a little bit of a lead on Gonzalez now. So we'll go through Burnville for the final time, brake, throw it into 4th gear. Taking it very conservative this time, but I want to win this damn Grand Prix. Now through Malmedy. Up into 5th gear now. So just leave it pegged until we get to the kink. And I guess we do hit third gear through Stavolo, but still very, very quick corners. Gonzalez is right on my tail. I'm going to leave a little bit to the inside, not let him jump too far in there. He thinks better of it. It's one advance fought off. And we slid a bit wide on the exit. Able to pull away on him a little bit. Now we'll brake down into fourth gear, questioning every move, really leaving it conservative there, but you have to be careful. Get the car a slightly different speed than you're used to, and you can really just throw things off. Gonzalez right on me again. Maybe he has it geared differently to get through Stavolo well. I think I have the top end on him though. Up into fifth gear now. I know how these corners work. Into fourth, back on the gas. Gonzalez right behind me. Fifth gear though, as we speed towards Blanchimont. We're getting close to the end of the lap. Flat out through this corner. We'll break down to fourth gear again for this fast left-hander. Blanchimont itself on the car. Feels great now that we're almost out of fuel, which is good because we just have a couple corners left. I'm not getting exactly what I wanted in there, but now we'll go through the gears, brake as late as we can for La Source. Just try not to slide wide, get on the gas nicely, and we'll work towards the line. And this was the day Richard Axelsen won his first Grand Prix. Oh, wow, heart beating a bit. Gonzalez driving past, give him the old salute. Wow, what a crazy race. Did not know if I was going to win, but I did not think I could. I definitely thought I could win, but did not know if it would come or not. But not an easy win. I don't know if it looked like it, but it was very pretty stressful race really, with the drafting and the cars catching up to you like that. But a ton of fun. It's just really a fun circuit to drive. Would be interesting to try a whole Grand Prix, although that was 11 laps and 36. We would have another 25 laps to go right now. Quite a lot. But then some of those moves and things, we can take it a little easier. And we'll drive a little bit further on our cool down lap. But very exciting to win the Grand Prix. I think that might be the first points-paying Grand Prix I've won on this YouTube channel. So it can be done, folks. And I think the lap times will show it was a pretty competitive race. The pole time was 4:41, if I remember correctly. 4:01. I can check it again. I believe it was 4:01 was the pole time. So definitely can some people I'm sure out there can go faster than me, but it was not an AI on beginner type race. They're full out, pretty much leaving things set the same everywhere. Have the AI for the same speed at every track, and so Argentina was pretty quick compared. Was going to maybe finish second there. Monaco was very difficult, but I think that's a lot to do with the car. Honestly, right? Not really how the AI are set up. Just the Ferrari's a heavy car. A lot of power, but really heavy. So going quick around a circuit like that would be hard. And then here at Spa, this is a fast track. I've got this big engine in front of me. So no wonder we did pretty well. In real life, this car finished third in the Grand Prix, so it's not unreasonable. Richard Axelsen here is quite the wheelman. So why don't we'll round out the lap, let ourselves cool down a bit. Spa Grand Prix, although being 11 laps, I bet it was a little bit quicker than the other races. So you cover a lot of miles really quick, and I believe the races were all set to mileage back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not this soon. I know as soon as you get into like the 70s and 80s, they're all set to mileage. So that's how they determine the number of laps. And I believe from here we'll actually go to Zandvoort in the Dutch Grand Prix, which will be a pretty tough track, I bet. It's might try out some different setup options there, but it is a twisty circuit, lots of shifts, and making sure you get the corners right. So I'm interested to try that out in these cars. Actually, I think I struggled there with the normal 60s cars, so maybe it'll be better with these. Maybe I'll continue to struggle, but I know when I did the 65 race there, we spun out going into turn 1 while trying to pass. Luckily, there is a bit of runoff there if you do spin out. Here at Spa, if you do go off the track, there are so many objects, probably a bit more realistic. You're more than likely to careen into a telephone pole than anything. We got another Lancia speeding up behind us. Some of the other drivers opting to take their cool-down laps at a pretty high rate. But again, for those that hadn't seen it, this track is just amazing. I was trying to think of tracks in my head that I didn't really enjoy driving in Grand Prix Legends, and Spa used to be one of those. I think the old version of the track just lacks character and is a little too wide. Really doesn't feel right. And now that this track is out, I would say this is absolutely my favorite track in Grand Prix Legends, and I just want to race every kind of car here. A little sad we didn't do the 1965s or 66 race at this version of the circuit. I'd have to rewind some of those memories a little bit. But now come to the end of the lap here to complete. Did the full cool down lap, which I wasn't really planning on doing, but just decompressing a little bit before we take a look at the full results. Lancia chasing me to the pit lane, of course. Pump our fist in the air again for all the crowd. Now we'll come down, park next to our pit sign, our pit board guy. All right, let's get out of the car here. So, 11 laps at Spa, and total time was 51 minutes, so I think the other Grand Prix were a little bit longer than that. Let's take a look at our lap times. We did a 4:05.12 on the 6th lap, which was our quickest. So if anybody wants to know how quick I was going, and of course I was dicing with other cars here and also trying to race our race pace, but I think these are pretty respectable lap times. We'll take a look at the full results. So Richard Axelsen finishes in first place, which is awesome to see. Zé González in second, Fangio in third. So Fangio was the one that was able to get around Ascari for that third position. So the leader of the championship still coming away pretty good today, which is unfortunate, but we still beat him. So Sterling Moss in fifth, and then Kling down in the sixth position, and he's the other one that scored some points. So you see the rest of the field there. Farina, 7th place. Trinchino, our friend, there in 13th. And then we actually had an accident with one of the Maseratis. But I did get fastest lap as well, which is awesome. So with that, why don't we go take a look at the points? And the points. So taking a look at these, Fangio still in the lead with 18 points, but the points race is super close now. It's 7 points down to where I am. Sterling Moss in second with 14 points. He probably having the worst day overall, although he did still score, but he has only gotten 2 points on the race. Bordo Ascari holding station in third place. Jose Gonzalez doing quite well as well, scoring the most points so far for him at total 11, and I'm tied for fourth with him, having gotten that win, and I think I would win in a tiebreaker since I have the most wins between us. So effectively in fourth place in the championship, only 7 points out from Fangio. So as we now look towards the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, things in a much better position. Happy with that race. And looking forward to the next one. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.